Horror on television has always had a rough ride. While there have been attempts over the years, the genre never quite found a solid footing in the way it did on the big screen. Understandable, really. Most horror stories revolve around some slasher chasing a group of victims, and that sort of formula doesn't lend itself well to a long-form narrative. Anthologies like The Twilight Zone and Tales from the Crypt thrived, but they were more episodic morality tales than ongoing horror sagas. Even when horror shows did take off, they were often neutered for TV audiences, held back by broadcast standards, or a reluctance to lean into the kind of horror that actually made the genre successful in the first place. Welcome to the Snake Pit, where we're full of bile and venom. I'm your host, Snake Daemon, and today we're raiding the vault of cursed objects to uncover a forgotten piece of horror television, Friday the 13th, the series. Today we're diving into a show that managed to break through the limitations of horror on television and actually carve out a niche for itself. Friday the 13th, the series took a completely different approach to horror storytelling. Rather than following Jason Voorhees on another machete-fueled killing spree, this show had an entirely original premise. An antique dealer named Louis Vendredi, played by R.G. Armstrong, and yes, Vendredi means Friday in French, made a deal with the devil, selling cursed antiques in exchange for wealth, magical power, and immortality. But when he decided to back out of the deal, the devil took his soul, leaving his shop full of dangerous supernatural artifacts. Enter his unsuspecting heirs, Mickey Foster, Louise Roby, and her cousin Ryan Dallion, John D. LeMay, who, along with the enigmatic Jack Marshak, Chris Wiggins, set out to recover the cursed objects before they can wreak havoc. What followed was a surprisingly dark and inventive horror series. Each episode revolved around tracking down an object which was almost always being used for some twisted, self-serving purpose, whether it was a scythe that guaranteed a bountiful harvest at the cost of human sacrifice, a radio that let the user manipulate reality through news broadcasts, or a demonic playhouse that turned children into murderous monsters. The series didn't shy away from violence either, and for a late 80s syndicated show, it pushed the boundaries of what you could get away with on television. It even delved into elements of sexuality that network TV wouldn't touch at the time, with some episodes carrying an erotic horror vibe, reminiscent of Hellraiser or The Hunger. Now here's the thing. While Friday the 13th, the series set itself apart from the films, it's hard not to wonder why they didn't try to connect the two. The show was already dealing with supernatural forces, demonic bargains, and cursed objects, elements that would have fit perfectly with Jason Voorhees' unkillable nature. They could have easily linked it by revealing that Pamela Voorhees had used one of Vendredi's cursed relics to bring Jason back from the dead, making his resurrection an actual supernatural event rather than some vague, unexplained force. Alternatively, maybe Louis Vendredi himself had a direct connection to Jason's origins. Imagine him striking a deal with Pamela, or even having a hand in Jason's first resurrection. It wouldn't have taken much effort to tie the mythologies together, and doing so could have created a larger, interconnected horror universe long before that was even a trend. But instead they just slapped the Friday the 13th name on it for marketing purposes, hoping audiences would tune in expecting something related to the films. And now, here we are, over 3 decades later, with Friday the 13th. The series left unresolved, and Jason Voorhees himself trapped in legal limbo, unable to return to the screen, thanks to rights disputes and studio incompetence. The Friday the 13th brand is in a worse state than ever, and at this point the chances of a satisfying conclusion to either the show or the film franchise seem slimmer than ever. Thanks for dropping by the Snake Pit, where we thrive on untapped potential and lost opportunities. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell, like the video, and leave your opinions in the comments, where naturally I won't read them. Until next time, stay venomous.